I'm Stone Gossard.
And you sing.
I play guitar.
I'm Eddie Vedder, and I sing. I do.
And tell me about Pearl Jam. What are you guys about? What's the band about? What sort of music do you play?
It's a good question. Generally, I think that we're a rock band. Very generally. I think that where we will go is up in the air still. We don't know what we're going to do, but I think high energy music has always been appealing to all of us, but I think there's also a lot of diversity as far as what everyone's influences are and their styles, and I don't know. I think it's generally a rock band, though.
I think we write the music, I think, definitely by the moment and for the moment, and there's different moods on the record, and, you know, I think that makes it probably even harder for people to say they're this or they're that. Live, it's definitely one thing, and that is, like, I think it's pretty powerful.
What sorts of influences do you have?
Well, aside from just everyday living, you're talking about musical influences? Well, pretty much everything I listened to as a kid growing up. A lot of music from the 70s, you know, stuff like Led Zeppelin and Elton John and you know, all those bad 70s radio hits that we all listened to. I certainly was influenced by, and I think Eddie was probably influenced by some similar things, but also other...
Actually, they didn't play none of my favorites on the radio.
Right.
Ramones wasn't getting any airplay, late 70s, for me anyway. Dreamweaver, though.
Dreamweaver actually was a song that probably impacted me as much as any song impacted me as a youth. I swear to God.
I didn't really catch on until the Ramones actually did a cover. Then I started, yeah.
The Ramones have never done...
1, 2, 3, 4, Dreamweaver!
He was funky. Gary Wright was funky.
Yeah, and what was the bass line that Jeff figured out from My Love Is Alive is the same bass line that's on that new Seal record, so it's carried over too.
So how did Pearl Jam get together?
Actually, the symmetry is kind of cool because, you know, we're opening with Red Hot Chili Peppers now, also the Smashing Pumpkins, and the fact is my best friend used to play drums for the Chili Peppers. His name's Jack Irons. He's got a band called 11 now, but the guys hooked up with him to see if he was interested in playing drums with this new music they were working on, and he had to turn him down when they asked about singers. He mentioned me. Next thing I knew, I was in Seattle. Gave up surfing for music.
He's going to get surfing back, though, at some point in his life.
Yeah.
He has that to look forward to. He's investing in more surfing, I think, is what it is.
A little time off.
So you and Jeff...
Right, bass player.
You guys were affiliated with 2 other bands together. Why don't you tell us about that whole history?
Well, we were in a band called Green River, starting in about, like, I guess 1985 with Mark Arm and Alex Vinson and Steve Turner and Bruce Fairweather at different times as other guitar players, and that was one of the very early Sub Pop bands. Us and Soundgarden actually had the first 2 records out on Sub Pop, which I don't know if you know what that is, but it's a Seattle independent label that's kind of spawned a lot of bands that are out now, like Nirvana and Soundgarden and Tad and Mudhoney, and we were in that band and we put out about 3 records on our own, kind of with Sub Pop. And actually even with Homestead here in New York. I don't know if you've ever heard of that label before. It's an underground kind of punk label that was happening a while ago. And that band broke up around, I guess, 88, and we formed Mother Love Bone with Andy Wood and Greg Gilmore, and we actually ended up getting a deal with Polygram and put a couple records out, an EP and an album, and then our singer died of a heroin overdose in May 19th of, not last May, but the May before that.
And so, out of that wreckage came Pearl Jam?
Yeah, I mean, me and Jeff made a decision that we wanted to continue playing together, and then we were looking to do something different, so we just started putting together a new band, and I ended up playing with a really good friend of mine in town named Mike McCready, who is now our guitar player, and we put some songs together and played with Jeff and actually Matt Cameron and did a demo. Matt Cameron's the drummer for Soundgarden, and that that's the demo that Eddie got, that he ended up singing like over 3 songs just on his own 4-track and sending him back up, and which was basically the beginnings of what is now Pearl Jam.
I sing those songs after surfing, I should mention that. If it weren't for surfing, this band wouldn't exist.
But you still surf almost every night, too, in the crowd. He kind of does this crowd surfing routine. It's pretty good.
The waves
More of a body kind of thing.
pretty
It's not
good,
actually
too,
up.
Yeah, I've caught a few. And
He went all the way from the stage to the soundboard and back to the stage a couple of nights ago in D.C., which was pretty exciting.
it was actually a big wave.
Let's hope
Oh, no.
New York audiences are receptive to having lead singers throw themselves into the crowd. I think in New York, probably the only place that everyone just kind of goes, oh.
So you were a surfer, you are a surfer
That's right.
in Seattle?
Misplaced surfer.
Actually, I was thinking about going to Westport, which is a fishing village
Actually,
off the coast of Washington. It supposedly has nice waves now.
the Peppers tour actually goes to a place called Del Mar in California, which is like a few blocks. The place we're playing is actually a few blocks from where I used to do some surfing, so I might surf moments before going on stage. Or I might have the crowd just pass me out to the actual beach.
Go from there?
Just go from there.
Steal aboard.
So you're touring with the Peppers, you're opening for the Peppers?
And the Smashing Pumpkins.
For the whole tour?
Well, in the United States, so the tour is going to, I guess, end up in Seattle will be actually the last date. And we're also playing with, it'll be, once we get to the West Coast, it'll be us, Nirvana, and the Peppers. That'll be pretty intense, certainly. That's, I guess we have like, what, 15 or 20 more shows on this leg of it, and then about 10 or 15 on the West Coast, southeast or southwest leg of it.
Tell me a little bit about the Seattle music scene. It seems like there are a lot of bands coming out of there, getting a lot of attention. It seems to be a hotbed of activity.
With all the attention, no one's ever asked us that before.
We've never heard that question. So tell me about the Seattle sound. What's going on up there?
What's in the water that makes all these great bands up?
There's some great bands in Seattle right now. I mean, the bottom line is that, there's some really original and, independent bands that are really, doing well right now. Bands like Soundgarden and Nirvana and Alice in Chains are all, bands that we would pay large money to go see. Hopefully wouldn't. Maybe we could get backstage even. Shocking.
So what would you attribute that? Is it nothing in particular, or is there something going on there?
Well, I mean, what do you mean? Something. I mean...
Tell me. Well, I mean, why did it...
As far as explaining how all these bands kind of came about at the same time, the same location, I don't know whether I could come up with a very definitive explanation for that. But as far as... I think Seattle is a pretty independent thinking place as far as just like people doing their own thing and people being into a diverse... a lot of diversity in types of music, and I think it was a place where there wasn't a lot of attention being paid to, especially by record labels, and I think anytime you have a place where a lot of people are playing music and influencing each other and not having this big, broad microscope on it, things can get pretty mutant and then they can develop into their own thing, and I think now the microscope is pretty much on it, so, we'll see what happens, but it'll probably just be a new spot, in another 2 or 3 years,
You think that is going to change now that there's been all this attention?
I think a lot of people's attitudes will be affected by the fact that people are getting signed and getting records released and selling records. I think as soon as your priorities start thinking about getting signed and getting records and or selling a lot of records, I think that a lot of time you lose sight of what it is that, maybe made you special as a musician or, in the first place. So
It'd be really
we'll see.
sad if Seattle became like the next seminar town,
It would be. But I think it's in some ways inevitable. I mean, I think in the same sense that people were talking about Athens, Georgia, or Minneapolis, or L.A., or New York in the past, And maybe not. Maybe, maybe people will see that it was kind of independent thinking that got everyone that seems to be doing a lot of good music these days to where they are. Maybe they'll realize that, You know, it's because people were taking chances and like going for what they felt rather than what they felt would like get them signed. You know, maybe there'll be more of that, but we'll see.
It's probably coincidence too. There's some really brilliant musical minds too, and consciences. I mean, Chris Cornell, the guy's writing and the way he writes music and lyrics and all these people, like I said, just coincidence that you have somebody like Kurt from Nirvana or Mark Arm.
Chris Cornell is Satan, I think. I think he's possessed. Really?
There's a scoop for you.
Or not. Or he's a genius, but we certainly listen to his record a lot. And
if he is Satan,
inspiring. And we can only hope that he's Satan, really.
Something to aspire to, maybe.
Sure.
If he is the devil, I have to say the devil's a beautiful person.
He's got a nice chest, too. Jesus.
So, tell me about this.
It's our CD.
See, I hate holding up a CD. I want to hold up an album. This is my album. You can barely see this. You just put it over there.
We're actually having a thing now where we're trying to get CDs made, like really big CDs, just so you can actually put them back in album sleeves again.
Actually,
it's not going over real big with the record company so far, but we're going to keep kind of pushing for it.
That's why we fought to get a fold-out that was big as an album. That's true. See, so now it's big as an album, but it's kind of flimsy. It's flimsier than, like, you know, a real album would be. Here's the lyrics. I wrote these while I was sleeping. Woke up and sang them. Now I've got a job.
How long did it take you guys to put this album together? Did you have all the songs written already, or once you got the deal, you started cranking out the songs, or how did
The song part was easy. It was like putting all these together, one after another. We've already sold like 70,000. You know what? You get calluses on your hands. All of a sudden you don't want to play guitar.
They keep sending us boxes of those things on the road to do on the bus. They say, hey, you guys are on the bus? You got 12 hours to get to Cleveland? Put some of these goddamn things together. Can I say that?
Yeah.
The record was actually, it was a very quick and very spontaneous kind of thing. I think we had almost all the material written within probably 2 separate times of Eddie coming up for about a week at a time. He came up for a week and we actually ended up recording about 10 songs, and then came up a week later and we did another like probably 10 or so. And some of it was written musically as far as like arranged and stuff before, and some of it was written spontaneously like together as a jam, and some of it was written as a band, you know, even right before we went into the studio. And we basically made the record, I guess it was 3 or 4 months after becoming a band, so I think it's a very raw and very young sounding record, which is exactly where we were at that time. I think that's kind of how this band wants to operate, and not spend a lot of time thinking about what it would have been like if we had waited 6 months and, you know, hired studio musicians to come in and play our parts, but letting some of the rough edges show and just being honest with where we're at musically, and like, you know, this is what we did, and you know, in the first 6 months that we were together. So hopefully the next record will be a representation of, you know, what we're doing right now.
So where are you in relation to this? Where are you now? The relation?
I think we're a lot better band.
Yeah.
Well, we're playing these songs live, you know, every night, and they're definitely even being taken to a different space. But even as far as like the new stuff that we're writing, and mind you, I'm incredibly proud of that record.
Oh yeah, definitely. But this band pretty much looks to the future pretty much at all times, at least.
It seems to be growing by leaps and bounds.
Personally.
So what does the future hold for you guys? What's next on your agenda?
I think whatever we collectively want it to hold. I think we're gonna make great records. I have no doubt in my mind that we're gonna make great records, at least personally, and we're gonna take some twists and turns as far as where we go with it.
Our third record is going to be so amazing. We just can't even wait. We don't even want to make the second one. We just want to go right for the third. We know.
Well, you mentioned you have like, what, over 20 songs you recorded for this record, but there's only about 11 on this. What about the others?
Well, we didn't finish like 20 songs. There were 20 like musical ideas that were either incomplete at the very end, or like, you know, didn't feel like they fit the record. I think we went in wanting to make a really good album, and some of the songs just didn't, you know, whether they were good songs or not, didn't quite fit.
Plus, like 9 of those other songs were like written on pan flute.
Exactly.
And we just didn't think it went as well with the other. It was a pan flute like through distortion.
Oh, really?
So it actually sounded pretty heavy. It's still the grunge thing.
I don't think Zamfir really would have approved, but I think that generally speaking, well, when you've known Zan like we've known him, I don't think.
His reference lost to our friend over there.
So are you guys going to be playing electro pan flute on stage? Or?
Anything can happen.
Mike has been known to play the skin flute, I noticed.
Through a distortion thing?
I can't remember what he was sticking it in.
Jesus.
Jesus.
Jesus. What happened to our, like, religious upbringing?
You have to remember, we've just been on a bus with about 9 guys for the last month, so we might be in a little
Ugly
different-
men.
Yeah, she's ugly, very...
So how's the tour been? Has it
been
fun?
Amazing. It's like a team.
It's like a dream come true, really.
Especially for a Chili Peppers fan, you know.
Yeah, even if we have a shitty show, we gotta go watch the Chili Peppers every night or the Pumpkins and just get totally re-inspired to be fucking...
And if I want to stage dive, I'm already standing right on the side of the stage, so I just have to take off, you know. I don't have to get past the bouncers that first time. It's brilliant.
He's gone in, even during the Peppers set, a few times. We can't keep this guy out of the crowd.
I'm still
Can't keep him out of the hospital either.
Yeah.
What happened?
Just a few close calls.
Yeah.
I'm okay, I'm standing, I'm
Minor
immortal.
bumps and bruises, really. He likes to jump off really high things sometimes. Sometimes it...
So how have the audiences at these shows, are they familiar with you guys? Do you get a good response? Or?
Some people are, some people drive to see us, other people have never heard us at all, but it seems like they've had a very open mind. And that's all we've ever asked for, and we've been really, really privileged.
We haven't really even asked for that.
I guess we never really just came out. And,
We don't really ask, so to speak,
but then again, we don't demand.
the crowd has been amazing. As far as like thinking about going out and opening for the Chili Peppers, you can imagine like getting a cold response. I mean, if people are there, so many people are so devoted to the Chili Peppers that a lot of times people are just there to see the Chili Peppers, and you know.
We think they'd have like 3 funk bands or something
Right.
playing and the whole thing, and the way it is, it's just like 3 different angles on alternative music, and it's been great.
Yeah, and we've been treated like very, very right, and just like it's been a pleasure.
And the Peppers are good ball players as well. Flea can play, Anthony can play, Chad can play, our bass player Jeff can play. I play.
Play what kind of
Basketball, we've been taking on like schools around the country as we go.
Colleges and stuff. when we
Winning.
play. I personally don't play.
No.
I'm kind of a cheerleader. Only in the most male sort of way, though.
Okay.
You're macho cheerleader.
Kind of like the tattooed cheerleaders in the Nirvana video.
Yeah.
I don't think I've only seen the very tail end of that video. I'm ready to see it, though.
So, have you guys been trashing hotel rooms on your way?
I left the towels kind of messy. Does that count?
I don't think as far as those kind of stories, you're really going to get much out of us on for this band. It's pretty low key. I think our priorities lie in playing music, and I don't think that getting fucked up every night getting drunk every night and like trashing hotel rooms is really in the list of things to do every day. Although we reserve the option to do that at some point in our careers, because I mean, as kids, you kind of look at that stuff as like looking pretty fun, but right now it's music.
How about this whole Magic Johnson HIV revelation?
It's a really frightening thing. I think it's going to hit home to a lot of people in Middle America just how scary that disease is, and how that even Magic Johnson, the ultimate American sports hero, all-American guy, can catch it. So on one hand, it's very, very sad to see someone who's like brilliant of a ball player like Magic Johnson get a disease, but at the same time, there's been people getting it for a long time now, and I think there's in the long run, it might end up doing some really intense good.
We've all been walking around in a state of shock.
especially the first 9, it was just like
We
very
couldn't
intense.
even really play. The only good thing that we can see is that, you know, maybe the kind of homophobic macho side of maybe the male culture will open up and see that, you know, this is, you know, something that threatens them personally, and maybe that might even follow through to getting more aid to helping, you know, fight the disease, etc.